man. Beat him, Mitto. Beat him. Mr. Mitto, we now have a SR20 sitting in the engine bay.
We do. So yesterday, myself, Michelle and Simone, we wheeled her in there. The biggest problem going in was probably actually getting the bell housing sort of area of the gearbox in the back of the engine over the steering rack and the anti-roll bar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we sort of consider moving the anti-roll bar to the other side of the subframe to make that easier in the future, because obviously you've got to work on the thing as well. But yeah, it's in there, the sump sits well, the gearbox is so close to lining up with the sort of original position, it's unreal. I mean, I think we're going to be within like sort of 30 mil at worst, so you might have to have a slightly kinked gear lever.
Let's have a quick little look inside just to see where the shifter is sitting at the moment.
So, if you imagine the original shifter probably sits roughly here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's within, 50 mil max of where it needs to be, just to use the sort of original position, which is incredible, really, considering it's a Subaru engine in a Nissan. Wait, in a Toyota with a Nissan engine. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Other way around.
Anyway, so that's going to work out really well. But we've got clearance at the back of the engine. Back here, we've got the heater sort of inlet and outlet pipes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get my finger to point down. Basically, the idea now is that I'm going to pull the engine back out, and then I've got to strip the entire dashboard.
So you can get access to the
heater matrix, because that goes in the car. It's like a little mini radiator, like an oil cooler looking thing, So the two pipes go into that. So the idea is that we're going to either modify that or replace it with a new core, or some, possibly a custom core. I've never done this before, so we'll find out when we get there. And those pipes will run inside the car and then run to Aeroquick fittings, which will be out of the way somewhere.
Got you, man. Then you've got that clearance.
Exactly.
At the back.
So we take these original brace bar brackets off, move the engine back, and we'll get more than 50, 60 mil there.
Yeah.
So the gear stick will be in the exact correct position, and the engine is going to be sitting as good as it possibly could be. What you really want when you're putting an engine in is to put the engine over the axle where it's being damped, so where the weight is supported. So if you put it further forward than that, there's a levering force. So basically, the further forward the engine goes, the more exaggerated that force becomes, because it's further away from its axis. So, a kilogram of weight there acts as 5 kilograms of weight when it's 3 foot forwards, As a rough guide for where we've put the weight and where the engine's going to sit. So if you imagine the Subaru flat 4 engine stops roughly, an inch back from the edge of the fuse box. Yeah. But then you've got to remember that the Subaru engine almost comes out, there's only like an inch or two between the edge of the engine and the chassis rail.
It's super close, isn't it?
So it's super close. So more weight is forwards, but it's lower down.
Yeah, I got you.
So
it kind of balances itself out.
Well, I'm hoping it's going to be a case of 6 and 2 3s, where it's further forwards, but it's lower down. Having a low mount turbo, obviously everyone loves a top mount turbo. It looks cool, but if it's lower down, then the weight of that turbo is lower in the chassis, and with the way the engine's going to sit, it'll be roughly over the axle as well, so it's in a really good position. If this was going to be a race car, then we'd already have the engine bolted in. Like, literally, the only reason it's being a faff is because we want to make it
streetable road.
Yeah, we want to make it so you can jump in it, drive to a drift day, drive to the shops. It's easier to build a race car where you can just simplify everything. Yeah. Because then we don't have to worry about ABS, then we don't have to worry about the traction control and indicators.
You're minimising a lot of the sort of bullshit.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is actually make it work as a car.
Yeah. What about things like the fuel lines? Because obviously the fuel rail's now going to be that side and not on this side.
Yeah, well, also, the other problem with this side is, I'm going to get back in here,
you love getting in that engine.
But just because I can, really. These are the original fuel lines here, which obviously run down and under the car. Yeah. But the problem is obviously there's going to be a big dirty turbo sat here, and a very hot exhaust behind it. We've got to move the fuel lines to that side, and then because of that heat soak that I'm finding in the car, definitely I'm going to be visiting your friends at Zerkotech and getting the manifold done, possibly the turbo, because you can coat your turbos as well, and definitely the downpipe, and just as much as I can, and then obviously heat shields and anything I can do to manage the heat and stop it you know, saturating into the cabin will definitely be done, because that was an actual problem.
You've actually got a few fuel parts lined up already, haven't you?
I have. Luckily, the engine came with some, and I've kind of put some more into the equation.
To the collection.
Come on, I'll show you.
Let's have a look.
So I've got this thing,
Swirl pot.
swirl pot, and then I've got that thing, which is a 400 litre per hour
Right, it's a long
fuel
pump.
And
Jesus.
yeah, it's bizarre. This is a kit you can literally just buy, and it's the tank and all the fixings. It's all air equipped, and obviously a really nice sort of billet aluminium mount for the fuel pump, which is awesome. And I think it was about 350 quid.
Okay.
Which for a surge tank and a 400 litre per hour
bad.
motorsport pump is really, really good.
Who makes it?
ProTech, they're called.
Oh,
So
ProTech.
I just ordered it from Demon Tweaks because they've always got everything,
Yeah,
and
nice and
delivery's
easy.
really good. Yeah. This is the fuel rail for the car. It's very carefully wrapped up.
Nice.
I will need to speak to Walton at Nisbro because he has injector flow bench, so he can test the injectors and make sure they're all working correctly.
Yep.
Obviously, they went in as brand new. They're SARD 850s, I think.
Quite big, yeah.
Yeah, so well, it's, you know,
Needs it.
sort of needs it for the power, but yeah, so you know, they went in brand new. They haven't run for very long, but they've been sat for a while, so they need to be tested. You know, there's no point doing all this work and then something silly like you've got a dud injector.
Yeah.
So they might as well be tested, and then Walton can let me know exactly what's happening with those.
That's a lightweight water pump pulley.
Yeah, it's a Greddy water pump pulley. Whatever happened back in the day, I spent a fortune, and just literally I must have lost track of what I spent, because I got all the fancy bits. You know, it's got the set with like the alternator pulley.
Yeah, cool.
I've got one on the power steering, but obviously we're not using that at the moment.
This is your SAR GT wing from Mr. Chunk,
It is indeed.
who's just had a baby as well, so congratulations,
Congratulations, buddy. Well done, it works.
Chunk. That looks pretty monstrous, that spoiler. It's actually the same height, it's actually taller than you.
Yeah, but I'm not very tall, to be fair.
Well, you're not that bad.
These are, you don't see stuff like this anymore.
No.
It's dry carbon, so it's not your kind of standard, you know, wet lay carbon, sort of bit of a fiberglass with a carbon skin.
Yeah, carbon layer,
Yeah, so it's a proper job. It had really nice mounting brackets on it, so actually the front mount for it here was like on a weird sort of press pin, so it was adjustable in height, but like you only had to undo one bolt, but obviously because I'm making custom mounts, I've had to drill all that lovely stuff out, which was I was a bit sad about that, but
Needs must.
shit happens. So I've done that, and now we are just debating how to mount it. So I've kind of lined it up with the car.
I'm really liking your idea of a nice low mount.
Well, I was looking at it, and we've kind of, the boot needs to be painted, so I don't mind resting it on there, but I
Yeah,
think
it does look sick.
the original one sort of sit at about that height.
Yeah, just
And
overkill.
I'm sort of thinking around this height,
Yeah.
but this far back as well. So obviously, the way those mounts are, you know, it's going to be quite difficult to mount it here without having all that crazy, like, yeah, like a lot of people. I understand it now that I'm trying to mount this. You know, people have all the stuff that mounts down here and off the bumper.
Do you know what? Personally, each their own. I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not a fan of that. I think it looks overly complicated, and like I'm pretty likely to smash the back of this off a wall at some point. So it's just something else that's going to get broken. And then, I mean, if you hit those struts and they're strong, you're going to break the strut, you're going to break the wing, and you're going to break the boot lid or whatever else it's bolted to.
It's quite cool if you actually sort of stand back here. It gives it sort of a nice perspective. The one thing I would say, you might sort of need some sort of diffuser or something down there to sort of beef it up at the bottom.
There's certainly like nothing I've kind of seen that makes me feel really happy at the moment.
Yeah.
So if anyone out there has seen something that I should really look at, then please let me know.
Yeah, chuck it down in the comment section.
Yeah, and this is my templating so far. So I've sort of cut this so that it will match the lines of the car without looking too terrible. So the idea is that I can put 3 sort of bigger bolts in it to sort of be load bearing.
Yeah.
And then I think I'll put like little riv nuts in it, just to kind of compress it down. The other idea I had was potentially welding it to the boot lid, because the boot lid's aluminium. So if I make a thicker piece of aluminium and weld it on with the little tabs on, that could work too, but it might look weird when it's painted. I don't really know. And then obviously you need to make a rubber spacer underneath it to seal it so that you're not getting water ingress in the boot lid. Yeah, I might get another rat go in there or something.
Oh mate, no more rats. We've had enough rats for one day.
So part of what I want to do is make it work with the car and not look like you've just slapped something on. Yeah. The amount of cars you see, I mean, my pet hate is when people get a big carbon wing and then, you know, instead of putting the rear mount of it like as far back as I can, it's like on the middle of the boot lid. So it's like passes an MOT, because technically I don't think you're allowed it to protrude. Yeah, but worry about that when you get caught. Like,
it ends up looking like an ironing board.
Yeah, I'd sooner run around with no wing on it and just put the wing on for a circuit. So it's yeah, like it just looks terrible. Don't compromise. Just do what you need to do and then deal with the consequences, whatever that is. So yeah, the other part of that will be, you know, obviously it'll need, because it's going to sit so far back, it'll need some sort of support from here. Yeah. So I'm thinking I'll make a corresponding plate down here, and then just for the sake of it, TRD actually do like an extra panel that comes on here somewhere that has like a little fin on it as well. So the thing I like about this car is that there are so many angles, and it is crazy. Like, you know, there's so many things going on. Yeah. And
yeah, they're very striking. Even in stock form, they are just a very striking car, aren't they?
And you know, the other part for me, I mean, the Rocket Money kit I talked about before, they're really beautiful kits, but they're very simple. Yeah. And as they've gone through, now they're on the V3, they're getting more and more sort of angular and complicated and diffusory, and you know, I quite like doing something that's completely ridiculous, but somehow making it work as a complete thing. So, you know, very much like the looks of a car for me are just as important as the performance.
Yeah,
because
I'm totally with you on that, man.
Yeah. Well, I hate the expression, "Oh, it's all right, it's just a drift car." You know, I think
it's all right when you like my Sora. That had a purpose. I was learning to
that's
drift.
A practice car.
That was a practice
that's
car.
That's different.
Yeah.
But if it's you know, it's a drift car. If you're driving that car every day, or you've got any pride in it, that is no excuse. Just like make it, you know, clean it, make it run, make sure everything's right. And if you have a practice car, you know, like, then it's okay. If its sole purpose is for that. So people driving Silvias with an E36 practice car, no problem.
Nothing wrong with that.
No problem. But if the E36 is your car, take some time. The next thing I'll do is pull the engine out, because then I've got to start messing around with pipes and just doing the awful jobs that are going to take forever. Yeah. But I did finish the mounting for the intercooler and the radiator. So, well, the radiator was easy because it just bolts in, but the intercooler we've now welded up.
That looks lovely, man.
This fixing bar. So I've got a couple of ideas with this. One thing that's quite popular in Japan, because it's so hot there, is they'll put a water spray system on the radiator and intercooler. Yeah. So I was thinking I might tee off two little inlet pipes,
like nozzles.
Yeah, and then you can just drill tiny little holes in it every so often, which, because of the water pressure, will spray. And I might make this bar into a little water spray for the radiator, and then potential, you know, mounting for the oil cooler as well. So,
right, should we actually do some work?
Yeah.
So those are the little buggers that are.
Yeah, so these pipes, you can lose that distance. I'm going to cut these brackets off, and then potentially I might move this loom, although the loom doesn't seem to be too much of a problem. No. Certainly this part of it will be, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of shuffling there. First protocol is undo these clips holding the wires in. So there's a couple of 10mm bolts there. There you go.
That's the loom out the way.
Didn't need that clip anyway. I'm going to drill out the little spot welds for this bracket, so I'm just going to center punch those without trying to hit my thumb or finger. Oops. Turns out that there is a specialized, as we said, specialized drill bit for this, but unfortunately,
it's not as sharp.
It's blunt. It's completely blunt. So what I'm doing, which is a bodge, and quite sketchy to be honest, is I'm using a massively oversized drill bit, and the idea is that it's going to drill out the spot weld before it goes through the body of the car. So
that's the plan.
Yeah, currently I'm attempting to do that, but yeah, we'll see how it works in a minute. Once you've sort of drilled them out to a degree, because I'm using the wrong drill bit, I'm going to basically have to do it bit by bit and just see when it's going to come off. But I'm using basically a chisel-ended little doofer a little doobarooby. So basically it's chisel-ended, but it is relatively blunt. So you want to use something that's blunt, it's pointed enough that it'll slide in behind the panel, but blunt enough it won't cut into the metal on the other side. So let's give it a little tap and see if it wants to start moving. I believe that has freed it up. Alright, so that's off. So that's those 3 mounts done. This is also protruding under the bulkhead, so actually to get it all the way out from there would be quite difficult, because obviously you've got to separate these two panels, start removing this. Yeah. So my options now is
cut it.
Well, I can cut it, or I can try and bend it and fatigue the metal till it snaps, and then repair what's left. So I'm going to bend it and just see what happens. Okay. I don't know how viable that is, but that's the way I'm going to do it. So. Yes. Yeah. Woo. So yeah, you can see now, actually that took all that time and there's only 2 small tabs in there, which is crazy. So what I'll do before obviously everything goes back together is I'll have to obviously paint up the bare metal, and then I'll have to get one of those little aerosol touch-up cans, tidy that up, spray that, put a bit of seam sealer in so it's sealed, so there's no water ingress. And then probably put a little bit of heat shield here just so it's tight. I mean, it depends how it looks when I finish the job, but yeah. There's that bracket off. And here's me out of breath. So the next protocol is I've got to strip this down and sort of separate and minimize the loom. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is try and move this loom so it sits right up under these brake lines. And then I can remove these threaded sections here, so that the bulkhead is as flat and clean as possible. Yeah. So there's nothing to be in the way. Then we'll go into the car, remove the aircon, part of the aircon system from in the car, so we can have a little more clearance here. Yeah. It might not make much odds, but it's the difference between having somewhere to work on the engine. Yeah.
It's actually going to make quite a big difference once you get these pipes out of the way. We're talking probably what, 40, 50 mil, 4 to 5 centimetres?
Exactly. If I use this little bar, so right now the engine has to stop here, so the difference is that I can stop the engine really close. I mean, almost to the point where it'd be touching this aircon pipe work. Yeah. So if we can get that far back, without obviously the flex of the engine hitting the fire, because then it makes a horrible noise. I mean, I've got an GT86 that it did have an SR in it. When I drove that, it was crazy and it was really loud, and I couldn't work out why it was so loud. And it was because literally the engine was pressing into the bulkhead, and the whole car would just rattle.
I had a similar thing on my GT86 Chaser. We did the BMW box conversion.
Yeah.
The box was touching the tunnel, and for ages we thought we had like clutch issues, flying issues.
It just makes a horrible noise. Yeah.
And in the end, it was just touching the top of the tunnel.
It's weird, isn't it? Little things. So.
Right, while I've been pissing around loading my van, you've been pissing around with electrics by the look of it.
That and then some. So you know, we got this bracket off, and then I sort of started stripping more stuff back. There's a big pile of crap on the floor.
Yeah,
so I'm just basically making room for the engine. So what I've done is strip the loom back because obviously it's going to go off for wiring. Tomorrow I've got to go and see the wiring people and take pictures and show them what's there, so I can
what the score is. Yeah.
I can see if they can give me any indication as to whether they're going to use the original plug for the engine, for example. So I can ask them about that. And then the loom I need to make flat, and then it'll be flat and tucked up as far up here as it can. And the same here, I'm going to tuck it all right at the back. So instead of it coming by the strut, it's going to go against the bulkhead. So just moving it away from that turbo as well. Yeah. The other thing,
like we do with the little old loom tucks on the S bodies.
Yeah, basically, you just kind of wedge it up there as much as you can, don't you, and try and keep it away from melting. The other thing I've done is I removed on scrap bin actually, but I've removed all the bracketry in the original clutch system. So I've bent the pipe over, so obviously I haven't got brake fluid leaking everywhere. Yeah. So what we do is replace that with a banjo bolt, which will just drop straight down. It's going to be a really short pipe, so that's handy. And obviously with it being a bit of a fruity car, you don't really need any clutch damper or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty productive. Fuel lines are starting to come out of the way, and we've simplified a lot of it. I've just been removing clips and things it doesn't need.
Yeah.
So once I know where the wires go, game on. This is like the crappy part of doing it. Once this is done and that's bolted in, it's going to move really fast.
We can start to play then.
Well, the plan is to be ahead of time. So, the mapping and wiring and everything is booked for the 27th of April. That's the time scale, and what I want to be is ready a couple of weeks before that, so we can double check everything, rotate the wheels, rotate the box, make sure everything is like as good as it can be before mapping.
Yeah.
And then I would like to maybe try and tackle the sort of looks of the car a little bit more before it goes.
Yeah, start doing the aesthetics.
Yeah, and then once that mapping and everything's done, I don't know whether, maybe we'll do something with graphics. I've got an idea.
Future episodes, don't give too much away.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Sorry, boss.
You're getting excited.
I am. I'm super hyped.
Yeah, of course you are, man. Yeah. I am too, it's not even my car.
Yeah, I know. It's like, you can have a go, man. It's going to be fun.
We're going to do some targets together, man.
Yeah. Woo-woo! I'm so excited. That first burnout, it's got to be a burnout, isn't it?
In the workshop.
And posh tyres. But yeah, thanks all for watching. I'm stoked that people are interested. It's also freaking me out a bit, but I guess I'll see you in episode 3 and more stuff will happen.
You might as well sign it off for me. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you give it a like, put any comments down below. Speak to you soon. Peace.
I can't do all that stuff, that's complicated. So what'd you say?
So I hope you like the video.
Hope you like the video.
Put any comments down below.
Put your comments down below.
We'll do our best to get back to you.
We'll do what he just said.
See you soon. Peace.
See you soon. Peace. Bye.